and welcome to another episode of the Speak the Language podcast. Jordan decided to crunch his water bottle right when we were starting the show.
Whoever said we were supposed to be professional at this anyway?
No one said we were.
So it's okay.
Yeah, so before we get into today's episode, couple of things. One, we haven't asked about, well, we asked about it last week, but we kind of fell off the board asking for this. If you have time, if you enjoy listening to this podcast, take just a few seconds, maybe a minute out of your day, go to the iTunes page, leave us a rating, write us a review. It helps us out a lot. So if you have time to do that, that would be great. And then you can, what does it do on Spotify?
If you don't know how to do it, I think you go, like on Apple podcast deal, you just scroll down to the bottom and it comes up, right? And that's how you come up. Man, I don't really know how either. I write us a review every once in a while, you know. It's like sucks.
Just leave it up there. Someone wrote it, the funniest to this day, the funniest review we've gotten is like, all of you sound like rednecks, and I bet you like peanut butter.
Yeah.
That's the funniest one we've gotten. There's been a couple colorful ones on there. There was one this spring that came out when I was doing my mission, and they said, what was it? They said something like, I know your name is Lake, but this catch and release program you're doing on turkeys is not necessary. That one was pretty good.
That was fun.
But that's the fun thing about leaving a review. You know, you can just write whatever you want.
You speak your mind.
You can be mean. I don't mind if you're mean. Just leave us a rating.
Have tough skin.
Today is June the 28th. New shows on the Outdoor Channel, which this is actually going to be kind of the meat of the episode. We'll get to that later. New shows on Outdoor Channel start tomorrow, Tuesdays, and then we have a couple more. Our big time slots on Outdoor Channel are tomorrow
and Sunday,
and there's some others scattered throughout there through
Sunday
the week.
At 9:30 Central Time, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right. I could pull up the Outdoor Channel website right now and tell you for sure. But yeah, new shows coming out, and then I know there's going to be some of y'all that are excited about that. Another thing y'all are going to be excited about is that's also when we're going to start uploading YouTube episodes.
Yep, I worked all last week. I got it pulled up right now, looking at the run order that's going to be released over the next few weeks. We got some good stuff coming out. It's what I think last year's stuff that was on the Outdoor Channel that we'll be putting on YouTube now. So a lot of people haven't seen that, and that'd be fresh.
People love when we start uploading YouTube shows, and they're always asking when they're going to come out. So now you know they're about to start.
And it's going to be extra stuff too for you all guys and gals that have always grew up watching The Truth. There's going to be some of the most memorable hunts throughout the years released. Once a week.
Yep.
And I was going through those the other day. Man, I had forgot about some of those old hunts. It just brought me back to when I was a kid watching the Truth DVD.
Yeah.
Going through those old hunts. I was like, man, I remember watching this on Sunday night or whenever it was on a TV show. And I was like, man, that really, really brought me back to, back then I was sitting there wishing I was that guy hunting with Will and Brad,
Yeah.
And now thinking about it, I'm like, oh my gosh. I get to see these guys, and it really humbles you. It really does. I mean, I'm looking at these old hunts, I'm like, man, I remember watching that 10 years ago. And it just brings you back.
Yeah. I still remember, because, the thing that hooked me, which I've said this before, the thing that hooked me with all of this, to primos, to hunting, everything, was the turkey videos.
Yeah.
The VHSs. And so I remember the first VHS, or I can't remember if it was a VHS or a DVD, but when they came out with the gobbler vest.
Yeah.
And you remember the original Primos gobbler vest on the shoulder pads? They kind of made it where it was like brown and looked like tree bark, kind of.
Yeah. It could look, to me, it looked like a brown diamond plate. It's on your tailgate, on your toolbox.
But it had that texture to it. And I thought that was the coolest thing. And so I grew up in Brandon, Mississippi, and so the sporting goods store and I still go there a lot to this day, was Van Sporting Goods. And so I ran up there. It was like, maybe they'll have one of those Primos gobbler vests. I just had to have one.
Dude.
So I went up there, and I remember, I want to say it was like, I don't know, maybe like $60 or something for one of those vests. And I was, I don't know, maybe 13 years old.
Yeah.
and that's a lot of money for a 13-year-old. So I don't know what I did, but I saved up my money for like weeks trying to be able to buy one of those vests. And the way it worked out is I finally when I went to go buy one, it took me all through turkey season to save up that much money.
Mm-hmm.
And they had marked the stuff on sale because turkey season was over. But I got me one of those vests. I thought I was so cool. I was walking around the house wearing it because I had the vest with the brown tree bark shoulder pads.
You bringing up that story just brought such a similar story to me. Like we had Decky Arlenter. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Anyway, he had a hardware store in Forest, Mississippi, where I grew up. Mm-hmm. And it was the same way. I went up there because he had a little boat shop in the back, and had this, that, and the other. Just a smaller sporting goods section, but he had enough so you could be dangerous. Mm-hmm. And I went up there to get a turkey vest after I killed my first turkey or whatever. I done decided, man, I'm gonna get into this turkey hunting. Yeah. Well, he didn't have any vests, but he ordered one from over here at Primo's, and I remember to this day it was $78 and some odd cents, and that's what it cost me to order it. Yeah. And you saying that is such a similar story. Yeah. I had to go get me a Primo's vest because I'd been watching it. Yeah. Same way with the bow vest. Man, I've been watching Will wearing that bow vest, talking about how cool it was, and had all these pockets for his rangefinder, his release, his gloves, and all the 1,000 other things he carries, and same way with that. Went up there and had to order one from Decky. You couldn't. I think you could order it direct then, but it was easier for me to go to the hardware store and get Decky to order it through his catalog. He'd go through his catalog and this is what you want, what camo you want. Yep.
Oh yeah, that's how that was if I had something, I'd always run up to Vans to go get it. And it escalated from there because it didn't escalate, but that's just kind of how it always went. Like I remember when the video came out where they had the freak slate call on it. So I was like, a slate call you can strap to your leg? Are you kidding me right now? So I drove up there and looked at it. I was like, oh, man, $20. I'm not going to have to wait as long to save up for this.
And I won't ever forget, I watched them guys hunting out of climbers. They were using Summit climbers at the time. Mm-hmm. The same way, I had to go up there and get Decky to order me a Summit climber, And to this day, me and you both have killed deer out of that climber.
There's that same Summit?
The same one, yep.
That's hilarious.
It's older than 15 years old now. We still hunt out of them every year.
Yeah. It's funny, how what seems to stick to you, no matter how big or small, like what the thing that just jumped in my mind now is a small one, but I remember, I guess, just watching so many of those truth videos. Every hunt, you'll know what I mean when I say it. Every hunt, just about every hunt when it started, you would see the person in the stand or sitting against a tree or whatever, and they'd be wearing one of those Primo's hats, and on the back of the Primo's hat they had that little green Primo's logo stamp, and I wanted one of those hats so bad.
I had one.
I never could find one.
I've still got it somewhere. I need to break it out. It's made out of a real lightweight material. I wore that sucker everywhere. Mm-hmm. And that's because you saw Brad and Will, all them guys wearing it.
All of them had it. Yeah.
Had that little, I think it said "Speak the Language" or something on the little back tag.
Yeah. And because I remember Keith had one, and I was always jealous of it. Yeah. I wanted one of those hats so bad. So bad.
I need to find that thing. I'm bringing it out of retirement.
Yeah, you need to break it back out. Yeah. The one I finally, when I finally got one that I liked a lot, is probably one of the first mesh back hats that I remember them having. Yeah. But it was I still have it. It was a Velcro mesh back hat. Of course, mesh back and bottomland. Yep. And had a little Primo's logo on the front. Said "Speak the Language" on the back. And in the first year that I worked at Primo's, I broke that hat back out, and I remember Jimmy saw that hat and he was like, "We ain't seen that one in a while." And then he started deeming it the lucky hat because the first time I filmed Jimmy wearing that hat, he shot a buck, so he started calling it the lucky hat. Yeah, I still got it. I hadn't worn it in a while, but I still got it. Yeah. I don't know how we got on that tangent. But
yeah, and I was just thinking, man. So I used to shoot. I shot a lot of archery competitions when I was growing up, and Decky, talking about the hardware store there in Forest, he, I guess the sales rep or somebody for Primo's had dropped a bunch of iron-on stickers off up there, like patches. Mm-hmm. Dude, when I went to these archery competitions, I saw these guys wearing these like uniforms or whatever. Man, it looked so cool, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I went and got me a shirt, and I went up there to Dickie. I was like, Dickie, what kind of iron-on patches you got? And I still got that shirt. It's got a Primos. The first time I tried to iron it on, I burned a hole in the shirt. So I had to put a patch over top of the burnt-out hole, but it's got a Primos patch over top of that burnt-out hole in that shirt.
You probably was the only archer up there with a Primos patch.
Oh, yeah.
Set you apart.
Yeah, they sponsored me, boys. I'm big time.
Yeah. Me and Will, we're tight.
Little did they know I've been begging for patches to put on my shirt.
Please give me a patch, Mr. Decky. I got to look official at these competitions. Hey, Jordan, have you seen the most recent updates to the Onyx Hunt app?
I've seen the off-road map.
They have got an off. Why were you using the off-road map?
It's pretty neat.
You just tearing up the countryside on the weekends now?
You see these trails.
No. So what they have done is they have created a brand new 3D experience, not only for the mobile app, but they've done it on the desktop, site
I've used
as well.
it on the mobile, on my app on my phone. It's pretty neat. You know, It kind of gives you an idea more so than like Topo does.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's really cool.
And it's cool that they've done it on the desktop type as well, because I know you're probably, well, I know you're like this because I've seen you do it. There's guys, obviously, there's not a day spent afield where we're out in the woods hunting, whatever, that we don't pull Onyx up at least once. You know, we're out, but I know guys like you, like me, like to get home, pull it up on our big screen, on our laptop, desktop, whatever, and do some intentional scouting.
Yeah, I was doing that like 2 days ago.
Exactly. So now they have that full 3D experience on there as well. So if you haven't checked that out yet, guys, even if you already have Onyx, it's worth hopping on your desktop and seeing the updates they've done. Another update, I don't know if you've heard about this one. They have a brand new layer called crop data layers. You heard about that one?
What is that?
So I'm going to read it off to you. This layer shows you it is over 320 million acres of agriculture in what was planted in 2020. This will allow hunters across the country to forecast based on crop rotation what crop will be in any given field across the country.
Dadgum. That's pretty stout right there.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, you know, a field last year was planting beans. More than likely it's going to be corn this year.
Exactly.
That's where you go find that old big buck around that cornfield, son.
Have you looked? I mean, you didn't know that one.
No, I'm finna go look at it right now.
So if you pull I'm pulling the app up right now. Just like anything else, layer library. See that right up there up top? Crop data layers 2020.
Oh, I'm in.
Hay, rice, grain, cotton, canola. It's all on here.
You're gonna like to use that too for when y'all go out west on your upland hunts.
Oh, heck yeah! It's something I never would have thought of that.
Yeah.
But look, we turn that on here. I mean, you know, there's some crop field. Yeah, look at all that. Pull that up around there. See all that?
Oh man, even us turkey hunting and all that. If you got that data, you know, you kind of can, especially early in the turkey season, like cornfields.
Mm-hmm.
Turkeys are around them suckers. So.
Ain't no doubt. So, yeah, check that out, the Onyx Hunt app, the new 3D features, and the new crop data layers. They're always staying on top of these things at Onyx, making it easier.
Really, really cool.
It's really, really cool. It's really useful.
Yes.
Is what it is. So check that out, the Onyx Hunt app. Don't forget, use the promo code PRIMOS20, save 20% off your Onyx Hunt membership. That was a really unplanned tangent we just got off on, but I guess the whole basis we got on that was talking about these original hunts or old hunts from way back. But yes, that's something that y'all can look for on the YouTube channel. Again, if you haven't checked out Primo's YouTube, which I would assume if you're listening to this podcast, most of our core listeners have. But again, YouTube, type in Primo's Hunting, will be the first channel to pop up. And starting tomorrow, we'll have new shows, and then you can expect those originals to come out throughout the summer as well. And we're very pumped about that, as well as the new shows on Outdoor Channel.
I love this time of year as far as getting new content every which way.
Yeah.
You know, and it's gearing you up for fall.
Yeah.
It's kind of, we always say it, and you know, the kind of the July 1st is that's the downhill slide to getting back in the hunting season. You know, it's good things to come in the next 60 days.
And while we were having that tangent, I did go ahead and pull it up. So Primo's Truth About Hunting on Outdoor Channel, Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern, Saturday mornings at 11 Eastern, and Sundays at 10:30 Eastern.
And tomorrow night
at 7 Eastern, 6 Central, and then whatever all the other time zones are. I always remember Central because that's where we live, obviously.
The redneck time zone.
Yeah. So before we start breaking into, I guess, the main part of what we're going to talk about today is we're coming back in with another embarrassment story of the week.
I enjoy these.
These are, look, man.
They make me feel so much not like a screw up.
Well, it's funny, and like we said before, there's some stories that because last week we it was the first actual week that we did that. And what's fun is, like last week, we had folks, they were able to submit some pictures and videos to go along with it. And just some really funny stories that get sent in, and some of them just like cool stuff, which again, we're kind of spacing them out. Like this week, we're just only going to talk about this one and so on and so forth. One thing I will mention, we figured out really quick that for some of y'all are a lot more keen to submit a story in if they can submit it over a Instagram direct message or a Facebook message. That is completely fine. You can still use the email address as well, primosHuntingPodcast@gmail.com, or you can just message the Primos Instagram or my Instagram or Jordan's Instagram. Doesn't matter. Just as like if you want to be, if you got a funny story, send it in. We'll get to it. Obviously we said if it's illegal, it's not going to make it on here. But so this story. This one's got some length to it, but there's a reason for it. This one, I actually know the guy that sent it in. This was sent in by my buddy Jens, and I did not know that this series of unfortunate events happened to him, but it is quite comical. I'm not gonna read word for word everything he sent in because it is pretty lengthy, but yeah. So this is a good one. Jordan, you have not heard this story?
I have not.
I read it, and we're just going to skim over it, kind of break it down little by little. So this happened in the year of 2009, right? This is Jens and a buddy of his. They're getting ready for the Minnesota duck opener. I did not know this, but he says in Minnesota you're not allowed to shoot until 9 a.m. on opening morning.
Huh?
That's just what I'm reading what's on the paper here. So they get out there. This is how 9 a.m. opening morning. So they get out there. So they find a little, good little spot of flooded timber, and saw a promising number of ducks coming in. Anyhow, it gets to legal shooting light, and said that there's plenty of duck opportunities around. There's no shortage of ducks that are there for them to shoot in range, whatever, and they commence to having one of those mornings, as we refer to them. And when I say one of those mornings, Jordan, you probably know what I mean, but apparently him and Jens and his buddy could not, connect, shot to bird. Missing a lot, doing a lot of missing.
They were giving free passes.
They was giving free passes. They was doing catch and release. And I don't think, unless he does not allude to anywhere in this story, I don't think they got a single duck. I think they did a lot of shooting, but there was not any ducks. No ducks made it to the boat that morning. And so they said it was bad enough, like there was enough ducks in there, and they did enough missing to where it got to the point where this isn't funny anymore. They were just upset. So they get done with the duck hunt. Time goes on. They had packed enough stuff. They're in a boat on the river, like I said, and they had packed their bow hunting stuff as well because it was deer season, and they had planned to, after the duck hunt, cruise down the river, find a spot to deer hunt that afternoon. That goes on. I think he goes in and he misses a doe at 10 yards. So the missing continues. And anyhow, the evening kind of comes to an end, and they decide it's time to take it back to the house. Time to get in the boat, go back to the boat ramp. So they get back in the boat, start heading back in, and they hear they're driving through some stuff. They hear a loud commotion. They hit a log or something.
Oh.
Ding up the prop really bad on the boat. Call a buddy. He tells them what's going on. The guy says, y'all better not try to drive that thing. We'll bring someone to tow y'all out. So their buddy comes in to tow them out, and they start towing them back to the land, and the guy towing them runs out of gas.
Oh,
so this comes in. Basically, it all just kind of keeps spiraling. And Jens, if you're listening to this, I'm probably skipping over some details here, but they ended up having to. They thought they were going to have to spend the night out on the river. The guy that was towing them ran out of gas. And then they tried to switch gas tanks around. They ran that tank out of gas. They ended up laying in the bottom of the boat, wrapped up in their camouflage, and he got woke up by a rescue fan boat. And then he said when they finally got in the boat and got towed back to the landing, there was like a full scale, like, I think there was ambulances and fire trucks and cop cars, search and rescue vehicles, everybody. He said they got a pretty good tongue lashing, and it ends with, the moral of the story is be prepared, be smart, and don't go on the river in a declared emergency flood stage. And he did not know.
Oh, gosh.
They had no idea.
Lord have mercy.
So
that's a bad day.
Yeah. You got to, like, break all this down. And again, Jens, I'm sorry if I missed some details, but start out to go duck hunting. Ducks everywhere. You can't hit a duck. Try your luck at deer hunting. Go in there, miss a deer. Try to go back out. You tear up the prop on your motor. Buddy comes to get you. They start towing you out. He runs out of gas. Switch the gas tanks around. You run out of gas again. Have to have a rescue boat come and get you. And then turns out you're not supposed to be on the river the entire time because you're in a declared emergency flood stage.
And they didn't even have nothing to eat because they couldn't hit nothing. Ooh, that was a rough day.
Jens, that's a bad one, buddy.
That was a rough day. Sounds like one of our escapades.
I was reading through over that. I was like, gracious, man, I don't think I'd go back.
I just sat at the house and cook and clean for a few days after that one. Recoup my dignity.
You ever been stranded in the river on a boat?
One time, but it wasn't nothing serious. I mean, we got upriver on the Pearl River here in Jackson.
Yeah.
And the batteries on the bass boat we were in were for the trolling motor. Somebody had ran a jumper from the trolling motor batteries to the regular starting batteries. So when the trolling motor batteries died, and everything died. So we ran the trolling motor out. Was like, okay, let's go to the house. Well, the battery for the big motor's dead too. So that was how that went. We ended up getting towed back, but it wasn't a all-nighter or nothing
Not like that. Yeah, like the way Jens describes it in this story is they didn't know a rescue boat was going to come get him or not, and he's laying down in the bottom of his boat wrapped up in his deer hunting jackets, just preparing for a long night. That, my friend, would be. Plus, Minnesota, you got to bet. I mean, that's got to be cold, like cold.
Yeah, especially that time of year. I did get out caught in a thunderstorm one time in the Gulf, in the marsh down there, and that was not a.
Yeah, that's no bueno.
That's a scary feeling. You trying to outrun thunderstorms, but you're heading the wrong direction, you know. So. Yeah,
I hadn't had anything like that happen to me. I don't really want to. I've had plenty of duck mornings like how his started, but not. That's a bad day.
Yeah, I don't know if that's so much embarrassing, but it just feel bad for him.
Yeah, like, man, that's a bad day. So. Anyhow, so in true form, we were thinking with the news show starting tomorrow, the YouTube show's getting uploaded, we're going to kind of go back and give y'all just a little bit of a preview of what you're going to see starting out. Because like I said, a lot of these folks, it must be a good many that listen to the podcast are mainly viewing us on YouTube because that's where we get most of our requests of when a new show is getting uploaded on YouTube. So the first YouTube show that's going to be uploaded is one that's very significant to, well, it's significant to all of us, but I know it's significant to Jordan because that's your first ever elk archery hunt.
Yeah, first time. Boy, I struggled too. Had a miss and couldn't get drawn back, and then finally made it happen, or got lucky and it happened.
Yeah.
But it was, I'd heard, Wilbur and we'd all talk about being mentally prepared. And, man, that's the truth. You got to be mentally ready.
I really like talking about, archery hunting. I'm sure there's plenty of guys that listen to this podcast that archery hunt. I don't know how many of them have gotten the opportunity to elk hunt. Hopefully a good bit of them. But I know a question that I've gotten often, I'm sure you get it too, is, mostly from guys down here that grew up or bow hunting whitetails. Like, man, what's it like drawing back on an elk?
It's different than whitetail.
I can remember going into my first one, I was trying to think, because I got the same kind of talk from Will and everybody that you did, try to be mentally prepared. And what I was thinking is I was like, man, I think I've, had an advantage of filming these elk for so long. I've gotten to be there for so many successful bow hunts that I kind of, I have a better perception of what it's going to feel like for an elk come running in at bow range, more so than what it would be if I'd never been before. At
the time, like when this took place, shoot, I don't know, we probably done seen 40 or 50, successful archery hunts since we've been doing this. And you're like, okay, I kind of got an idea what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, to your point, that's what I was thinking. And I remember you did the same thing. Leading up, when I knew I was going to get an archery tag for the first time, I don't know how early in the summer I started shooting, but I was getting to where I was shooting like twice a day, and I was trying to run through different scenarios in my head. I even got to where I was putting an elk call in my mouth, and when I would shoot, I would draw back, I would practice stopping, and then shoot. But even still, the first one I drew back on, that I don't think I got a shot at the first time I drew back, but it's probably a good thing that I didn't, because I was shooketh.
Yeah. That's a different feeling, that's for sure.
But yeah, the one that episode of Jordan's Bull is pretty special. It's in talking about I'm not trying to throw you under the bus here, but talking about embarrassment stories. You remember, well, of course you remember the miss, but I think we should talk a little bit about how that miss happened.
Oh yeah. I mean that was part of being prepared. I was out in the yard shooting 70 yards the night before, or 60 yards or something, but I've got a roller sight. Here's my setup on my sight. I've got a multiple pin sight that you can roll. Mm-hmm. So, I think that sight had 3 pins on it, but I was able to roll it out to, 60, 70 yards just to practice, form really is what you're doing at that distance, is trying to be better at 20.
Yeah.
Well, the night before I was out in the yard shooting, and I forgot to roll my sight back down to regular stationary position.
Yeah.
And I pulled back, anchored my pin right where I thought it should be, and I think the elk was like 30 yards, but little did I realize at the time my sight for that pin was set on like 55.
Yeah. Your left and right was perfect.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I KO'd him if my yardage would have been on.
If he was at 55 yards, you would have made a bang up shot, just an incredible shot.
It was. Well, I knew exactly what had happened as soon as it happened. I turned around to you. I said, I forgot to roll my sight.
We both did. As soon as I saw that arrow sail, I was like, I bet he didn't roll his sight back. And I look over and George's rolling that sight. And I'm like, oh, that's bad. Because this is one of those things.
I'm just glad it didn't hit him in top of the hump. It was off enough where it shot over top of him.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a good.
Because that's a
foot over the back.
A mental mistake. I mean, just think if I'd had it set on 40 yards, it would have popped him in top of the back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Moral to that story is always check your equipment.
Yeah, I do now. I make sure that sucker roll down.
Do you remember? So obviously the story does have a happy ending, and you killed your first archery bull. Do you remember what was going through your mind when all that was going down?
Shoot, no. I don't remember nothing. It's like you black out for the whole. I guess you get so focused on just making sure you do everything right. That's the way it is on just about any animal. Like with me, I can't ever tell you details what happens after the fact.
Yeah.
I guess you just get so zoned in. You're focused on that one thing.
Yeah.
And I shot him. I saw it was a good hit, and I just oh.
Yeah. With me, it's I guess it's kind of a hybrid of that. I never can piece the whole thing back together. I'll remember little details.
Yeah.
I remember, this is one. I remember Brad told me, as far as getting drawn, he's look for an obstruction or wait for the elk to be moving. I can remember the first one I shot. I saw him walking, and I saw there was this big pine that had broke off about 3/4 of the way down.
Yeah.
And I remember saying, soon as his head goes behind that tree, I'm going to draw. But then, after that, to the point, I remember drawing back, but as far as, anchoring and pull, that is all just kind of a blur. Like you said, it all just kind of goes really, really fast after that. But that's where practice comes into play, though. Muscle memory, all that stuff that we talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's a good feeling, though, when you made a good shot. And with him, we saw him fall, and you're just oh, thank you, Lord.
The big moment of relief.
Yeah. Especially, I know it would have been special if I'd have gone on an elk hunt by myself or with a friend or whatever, but I mean, really and truly being there with like you and Brad and Troy, you know, people I've been looking up to. Well, not so much you, but you know, like Brad, been looking up to him my whole life, or just watching him and doing it, and be able to experience that with him. That was icing on the cake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's like the same kind of deal. I mean, like we were sitting here talking about it earlier about growing up and watching those videos.
Yeah.
And the guy, like Brad's been there for as long as I've been watching Primo's videos, I was seeing Brad on there.
Yeah.
You know, and so all of a sudden you're with that guy and he called your elk up. You're like, oh my gosh.
Yep.
You just kind of take a minute to try to soak it all in.
Yeah. I mean, not so much. It's like, how cool is this? But it's like, how am I here?
Yeah. Yeah. Shoot,
You know?
man, that's how I felt. Like, because it's the same deal. Like, you were videoing me. Troy was over there with the other camera. And Will's back there calling.
Yeah.
And I remember after I shot and I was freaking out and rolling around on the ground, and you gave me plenty of heck for that because I get excited. And I remember Will running up there and giving me a hug, and that same kind of deal. It was like, what have I done in my life to end up right here? You know?
Yeah, it's a surreal moment for sure.
What I always tell people is, like, I never feel like I deserve it, but I'm sure enough thankful for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was a special episode, and that one will be up on YouTube tomorrow, right? Today's Monday.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
If I hit this button here to make it go up, I guess I need to do that today.
Well, hit that button, man. Hit that button. So that's the YouTube show, and I mean that's the only thing that your hunt is that whole episode, right? Kind of like the ups and downs of.
And going to the TV shows that are fitting to come out, you know. Not to be too much of a spoiler here, but, you know, Jimbo's hunting this year.
So
archery hunting. So just follow along with that. That is a really, really cool deal to me, you know, watching Jimbo do what he did or do what he did. Not
to spoiler on the podcast as well, but what we're planning on doing, because, again, like Jimmy, I'm going to try to give away as little as I possibly can, but for Jimmy to accomplish what he accomplished at his age after everything he's done so far in his life, you know, I mean, he's a very accomplished hunter, you know.
Yeah.
And for him to be able to knock out a first, truly, pretty special. So, alluding to a future podcast the week before that TV episode airs of Jimmy's hunt, he's gonna come on the show. We're gonna do pretty much an exclusive interview about that. There's plenty to talk about on that subject.
For sure.
So, yeah, that was the YouTube episode. The TV episode that'll come out tomorrow is elk as well.
Yeah.
Elk was, what is that? Is that Brad?
Brad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then the week after is you and me. And after that, it's going to be, I think, Jimbo, or either Troy and Wilbur and then Jimbo.
And then Arizona with Brad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of elk content. I hope y'all like watching elk hunts.
Yeah.
We got some good ones last year.
Very, very good ones. It's always fun, man. That the out west and the elk country is just so crazy. Which we'll talk about this more as the time gets closer, but every episode has got a little bit something different going on. Like Jimmy's is obviously very special. This one tomorrow with Brad's is pretty crazy cool. The way it worked out, me and Will almost got ran over, and elk ended up going back. I'm starting to give away too much.
Yeah. I'll never forget mine, that's for sure. That sucker.
So, yeah, lot to look forward to. It is a lot of us talk about the summertime. Summertime is time for fishing and trying to find time to pass the way till we can hunt again and try to escape this warm weather.
Yep.
And
we started putting a game plan together this morning with Brad for Kudzu Bluff, starting to do food plot work and starting to spray up there before long and start doing that process. So it's that time of year, everything goes in motion again.
Getting to be that time. So anyhow, guys, hope that y'all are keyed up as we are for these new episodes coming out again on the YouTube channel and on Outdoor Channel. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up for today. Again, if y'all have stories, we're taking come one, come all, no borders. We don't care if it's your first turkey or that you think you saw, a Bigfoot. Send them in. And, George, you got anything to add?
God bless.
God bless. Thank y'all for listening to the Speak the Language podcast.